I had run out of everybody. I think I had bee sting therapy left that I was going to do and fecal transplants and, eating poop. So I was like, oh, there's nothing left. And then I knew people were talking about coaches. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Even if you've read a book by Dr. John Sarno and you're just thinking, I don't understand what they're talking about, or what is this theory, or but my brain can't get hold of it, or I don't. You are not alone because it's like a huge thing. It's the opposite of what we've always been told.
If you've been listening to my interviews for a while now, you will probably remember Amari Love and her many helpful insights and unique approaches to recovery, including things like how using a teddy bear can actually help you with nervous system regulation. She is incredible. I adore her, and clearly so many of you do as well, because so many of you asked if I could bring her back. So today, right now, she is here, and we are picking back up on our conversation where we left off, but with some surprising twists today. If you're new here, I'm Raelan Agle, and this is where we dive into real stories of getting better from conditions like ME/CFS and long COVID. Here we challenge outdated beliefs, we highlight what actually helps, and show that even the most complex health journeys really can shift. So right now, I am thrilled to welcome back Amari Love. She's over in Marbella in Spain. And this time, Amari brings a bold new perspective to our chat, one that questions some core beliefs in the mind-body world. And looking at, could some of the most respected approaches to emotional processing be overlooking a key part of the puzzle? Amari thinks so, and we're going to explore what might just be the thing that changes the game for people in their recovery. So please join me in welcoming back Amari. Amari, so incredible to have you back. Excited to be talking with you again.
Thank you. It's so great to be here, Raelan. I'm so happy to see you.
So I know we're going to do a deep dive on some specific topics right now, and I will link one of your past interviews here for people who want a more in-depth look at your own personal journey. But I think it would just be good to start off. I know it's a challenging thing to sum up quickly, but just so people know, like, you get it, you've been there. So can you just tell us a little bit about your journey that brought you here with your own health?
Yes, absolutely. So I went down into real severe chronic illness at the beginning of the pandemic with long COVID. And at that time, I had never heard of chronic illness or chronic fatigue syndrome at all. It was a complete surprise. And it lasted about 3 years that I was housebound. And a lot of that time I was bedbound. And I tried everything. I had a range of symptoms like so many people have with long COVID. I had pain and fatigue and gut issues, insomnia, and just such a huge, diverse range of symptoms. And I tried everything. I tried all the doctors and the healers and the shamans, and I did all the protocols, all the supplements, all the diets, all the different treatments, even wild treatments that I said, I'll never do that. Then you get to those and you go, okay, I'm ready for the crazy wild treatments. Yeah, so I did all of those and nothing helped. In fact, I just kept seeming to be getting worse until I was in a room with the windows blacked out, dark room, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't go to the bathroom, couldn't be with people, couldn't work my phone, couldn't understand messages. It just kept getting worse. I discovered the work of Dr. John Sarno, and that changed things for me. At the time when I heard of this man who had a new theory about how to heal from chronic illness, I couldn't read. So I had to kind of make deals with myself, read little bits each day to try to understand this new approach. And it changed things for me. It created my first shift. I think a lot of people, as you know, we're stuck and we can't change our baseline until something happens. And it can be very difficult to find something that gives you that shift. So that was the first shift for me, was understanding a new way and a new approach and being able to begin to follow that. And then there was still quite a long journey ahead, but that was the beginning. And later I realized that even before long COVID, I had had other symptoms, but I didn't realize there was any connection. In my earlier life, there had been issues, but I didn't realize at that time that these were anything to do with something called a chronic condition. You know, I had no clue.
Yeah, no, me neither. And I'm even still to this day, still piecing bits of it together. Didn't even understand that, anxiety and depression can be nervous system dysregulation symptoms and just so many things going back all the way to childhood, I see now.
Yeah. And that happens a lot, doesn't it? Because we classify them, and it's quite hard to free our own brain. Even though we study a lot about this work, my brain still says depression, anxiety, these are mental health issues. Like they're in a separate place to physical health issues. Like if you have leg pain, that's a different thing to anxiety. But when we realize actually the mind-body system is all one, it doesn't matter if we used to classify it as, oh, that's for the mind, that's for the body. So we're gradually changing our own neural pathways still as we go on with our lives, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I was listening to you describe your journey, and my heart just goes out to you and everybody who's watching or listening right now, because it was exhausting just hearing all the things that you tried. And that would be so challenging for a person who's feeling well, never mind someone who's feeling the worst they've felt in their life, to just be sort of fumbling around, or not even fumbling, but just trying everything and doing all of this. And then to have the, I used to read every book I could get my hands on. I was reading about curing yourself from cancer and diabetes. And one of the most helpful books I've read to date that is the most relevant and echoes what the people I interview tell me is Dr. Sarno's Healing Back Pain. It never would have occurred to me to read a book about back pain. I didn't have back pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, even you can see throughout his career, was making greater and greater connections of, wait, it's bigger than this, wait, it's bigger than this, wait, this applies to a lot.
Just as you say, and what you're saying is so wonderful. So I had a lot of cancer as well. So I see that as a symptom. So everything is a symptom, and everything can be approached with mind-body healing. So everybody has very different symptoms as well. One person will say, but I've got this different thing and I've got this list of symptoms, and it's different to someone else. So when we kind of start to understand, and Dr. Howard Schubiner was on your channel recently, which was so wonderful. And he said, didn't he? He said something like, I had my book about how to heal anxiety and my book about how to heal other things. And he said, but now the new book is how to heal everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you read his book on pain and his book on anxiety and depression, it's the same path forward. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's quite mind-blowing. And for anyone watching this, it's actually so mind-blowing that our mind kind of rejects the theory when we first hear it. It's as different as hearing, you can imagine when people heard the earth was flat and someone turned out and said, no, it isn't, it's round. And people would just be like, I don't think so. You're crazy. But when you hear this theory, I think for the first time, it just seems so shocking that every single symptom you could have ever had might be caused by a root cause that isn't what you think it is. Yeah. It's so big. It's such a big shift.
That's such a great analogy, because that's how I feel a lot of the time talking to people about this. Like, I'm the round earther in the flat earth era, and I get ready for the response. Of course, here we get it. This community, we get a lot of people that are really well informed.
And so for anyone watching at home, even if you've read a book by Dr. John Sarno, or if you've watched the interview with Dr. Howard Schubiner and you're just thinking, I don't understand what they're talking about, or what is this theory, or but my brain can't get hold of it, or you are not alone, because it's like a huge thing. And I've seen Dr. Sarno videos as well, which people can watch. And he's like a grumpy old dude going around, I don't know why people don't get it. I don't know why people don't get it. And it's like, I know why people don't get it, because it's huge. It's the opposite of what we've always been told. If you get a pain in your leg, you treat the leg. And we're saying, no, we're not going to do that. So the brain goes, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad you said that, because I interview people here and we talk about it so much that in our space, it's become normal. And we've had time years to learn and wrap our head around it. But so many people I interview, we're just talking about this like it's fact, because it is. But if you're hearing it for the first time, like, what is even happening in this interview? Why are they talking about medication or
symptoms and treatments?
Yeah.
And even now, I mean, I love everyone that I work with, and it's so hard, this journey, and it was so hard for me, and I'm sure it was so hard for you to go through the recovery journey. It's so hard, but it's really wonderful as well how people come and they're like open to the theory, and even after we understand it, we don't necessarily want to act according to it. So if we understand mind-body healing a little bit, what happens is we need to be able to allow things to unfold a bit. Like, we need to be allowed to have sad emotions, or we need to be allowing stressors to come up and be released. We need to give time to ourselves. There are certain adjustments that can really help speed up the healing journey, like night and day. But that means people are still saying, but do I really have to?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to. Well, so there's always a choice.
A silver lining of something terrible I always bank on is, because I just always really want people to be curious and open-minded, because this can help far more people than people realize. I think it's easy to put yourself in the category of people that you think this doesn't apply to, when I mean, really experts are saying there's no condition that exists where these principles don't apply. It's just how many other puzzle pieces are there. But my point I'm getting to is that we have desperation on our side. You said you get to a place where things you wouldn't have considered, you're like, fine, talk to me about this mind-body thing.
Yes. Or
I'll try.
I'll try anything. And then it's quite a surprise. For me, I really was that person. I want people to realize, and people that I work with are honest with me, and they tell me the terrible thoughts they have about me, and it's beautiful. But when I had run out of everybody. I was like, there's nothing left. I think I had bee sting therapy left that I was going to do, and fecal transplants, and, eating poop. I was like, I'd already done that. So I was like, oh, there's nothing left. And then I knew people were talking about courses and coaches. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Laughing that this came after eating poop.
Eating poop, and you intentionally harvest bees and you sting yourself with them 12 times a day.
So this is even less appealing than that.
I was just like, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was like, there's nothing left on my list to do. So if people are a little bit skeptical, that's really natural. But what we're talking about, and as you know, Raelan, what we're talking about is an approach that will heal any condition and every condition. And that's why it sounds too good to be true. That's why it's quite hard to believe in until you see so many recoveries due to it, and that it's working across different conditions. So it's very good news.
Okay, so I know you've said that, like, the TMS world, this mind-body healing space, can be a bit macho. So what do you mean by that? I'm very curious and intrigued.
Thank you for asking. So one of the things that I've noticed in the world of TMS is that there can be a kind of gung-ho, little bit macho approach. Now, I am being quite lighthearted when I say macho, and I'm not saying this specifically about men either. But there can be a kind of, we're going to go through no matter how much pain, no matter how much I will, and it's kind of like, yeah. And one example that I actually loved the book is Stephen Ray Ozanich's book, The Great Pain Deception, where he pushes through his pain every single day in agony, crying and screaming, refusing to give up. And it's kind of like the macho TMS story. There are a lot of other practitioners who, the theory is kind of just get back to life. Just tell yourself it's safe and go. Yeah. Just do it. Expand activity. Now, of course, that actually does help a lot of people, because it does rewire your brain to do those activities and to tell yourself you're safe. But for some people, it's not always working, and they're then continuing to do things all the time that are causing them agony, but they don't seem to have another solution. And for me, the wonderful thing is there are other solutions. There are other pieces of the puzzle that can be done. So you don't have to just keep going down that one approach and just keep forcing yourself to do the same things for an extended period of time. I heard a practitioner say, oh, one person's been still doing the technique for 10 years and it's not working yet. And my feeling was a lot of shock. I felt this was not good for that person. Like you need help with other options. That was my feeling for this.
So, which begs the question, what are these other options?
So the other options are brain rewiring, but in various ways. So expanding activity and telling yourself you're safe is brain rewiring and is helpful. But there are other options on how to rewire the brain. There are things like somatic healing, which is very powerful. And there is emotional integration. There is nervous system regulation. So there are these different techniques that people can do, and they can do it with support or with practitioners to help them go through. There's also cognitive work, like beliefs work, shifting beliefs, which is part of brain rewiring, which I know is definitely your area of expertise. So there are different kinds of options that people can do to help support their system without immediately expanding activity.
Yeah.
That's all. It's just can be just doing things in a slightly different order can be a lot less painful and a lot more effective.
Yeah. And there are different things. In a sense, we all got here for the same reason in terms of, nervous system dysregulation and all of these components, but it was completely different paths that got us here. So I think there are different approaches and there are different prongs that you can go. And I think your best bet is to go multiple. So you're getting at in the moment, is it trusting that my body is okay? What am I carrying around in terms of emotions and trauma?
Yeah.
And you mentioned something called, I think you said emotional integration. I'd love to hear more about that. What is that?
So the way that I usually work with people is that we build stability first. So we use cognitive work, beliefs work, brain rewiring, and somatic healing, which I'd like to do a little bit of somatic healing with you in this interview. Because I think people don't necessarily always know what it is. So it would be quite nice to share a little tiny exercise that people can try or that we can show and they don't have to try. And when we've done some somatic healing, some cognitive work, and people stabilize, their symptoms start to settle. They don't always completely vanish, but there are shifts and people start to make some improvements and they feel more optimistic. So they'll get a mindset shift, because when you don't feel like there's any point, it's very hard to motivate yourself to do any inner work. So then I start to bring in emotional healing work and emotional integration, which is quite deep work. It's like working with the subconscious to find the root cause. Very, very wonderful work and very powerful.
So you mentioned that there is a somatic exercise that you were going to walk us through. I'm excited. So could we do that now?
Yes. Wonderful. I get very excited about this work. So what I'd love to do is invite you, Raelan, to join with me to do this very simple introductory exercise. But I just want to put a little warning for the lovely people at home. If you're very severe, just watch. And if you're very mild, please do join in and then let us know in the comments how it goes for you or what comes up or anything. And this looks quite simple, but even watching it, people can get a big reaction. So even just watching, so often with somatic healing, the first thing we do is we do a demo and people who are chronically ill watch and then they report what they're responding with, because our nervous system responds to what we're seeing. So I'm going to invite you, Raelan, and let's just see how we get on. So I'm lifting up my hand just so you can see it on camera, but people at home, you don't have to lift it up. It can be down in your hand. But I'm just going to invite you to copy me, Raelan, to start with. We're going to, with the other hand, your left palm, you're going to tap the left palm very gently with your right hand. That's it. Great. Wonderful. And then can you make sure that you're looking at the hand that you're tapping a little bit so that you're getting information through your eyes of what is happening? And then making sure you're gentle to yourself. If anyone's at home, don't tap yourself really hard like most people do at the beginning. be super
That's what we
gentle.
always do.
Like whack, whack.
It must be
Gentle.
better.
Yeah. Too gentle, gentle, gentle. And then can you see, Raelan, if you can feel any sensations in the hand that you're tapping? So almost imagine that your mind is going into the palm of your hand to feel what it's like from the inside of your hand. And if you feel nothing, and if you feel numb, and this is for people at home, a lot of people might just feel nothing, and that's really okay. That's very usual the first time we do any kind of somatic healing. You might feel nothing because you've been in the freeze state for a long time. So very gently. So Raelan, can you connect at all? Are you getting like warmth, tingles, nothing, slightly irritated at the feeling of tapping? Anything at all? Anything is valid.
Initially, there was a little bit of tingling. And now, interesting, yeah, almost, I don't know if irritation is the right word, but it's like my hands like...
So change the rhythm. So now do a slightly different finger movement.
That's better.
Yes, because your brain is like almost rejecting what you were doing after the repetition. So we've give a slight change. And then just notice the temperature of the air around your hand, and then look again at the palm of your hand. And can you repeat after me, Raelan, and anyone at home who wants to join in? This is the palm of my hand.
This is the palm of my hand.
And just breathe and just notice anything that's happening is allowed. Anything in the body and the rest of your body. If your breath tightens, if you feel sensations, if you feel emotions, and if you feel nothing or numb, everything is valid and welcome. Good. And I just sighed, and that wasn't on purpose. It just happened because part of my system went for some reason. And the reason I'm sharing that with you, Raelan, and the audience at home, is whatever's happening in my nervous system might be happening in your nervous system, and they respond to each other quite strongly. So if you notice anything, Raelan, feel free to share. And then we're going to turn our hand over to the back. So now we're going to tap the back of the hand. Now you can put your hand however it's comfy. I was just really showing the audience like, hey, it's the back of my hand. So now just tapping, the kind of just basic, very gentle tapping. And notice what it feels like in the back of my hand. Just, can I feel the tapping? Can I feel anything? Does my hand feel cold or cool? Or I'm almost sending your mind into your hand to see what it feels like in there. And noticing while you do it, if anything else is coming up for you, any pain in the rest of your body or sensations or difficulty breathing or tummy gurgling, anything at all is valid. And say after me, this is the back of my hand.
This is the back of my hand.
Fantastic. And then we're going to swap hands. We're going to tap the palm of the right hand. Very good. Very gently. It can be as slow or as fast as you like. And then feeling into the palm of the hand. So putting your attention inside and noticing if there are any sensations, if it feels numb, if it feels hot, anything at all. And looking at the hand sometimes, because we're really sending a strong message to the brain, we're connecting to the inside of the body. And we say, this is the palm of my hand.
This is the palm of my hand.
And then we turn that hand over. What's coming up for you, Raelan?
It's just very interesting how much more aware I am of just everything in my body. I don't think I've ever thought this much about what my hand feels like. And then I start to notice a sort of like tightening and loosening of things around in my other parts of my body. And
yeah, I'm getting a twinge of back pain. I have my chest tightening.
Me too.
Are you getting a twinge of back pain?
Yeah.
Our nervous systems are co-regulating right now. And what you feel, my system will pick up on somehow and do the similar thing. It's incredibly powerful, this work. That's why I gave a little warning at the beginning. Every lovely person watching, if you're getting overwhelmed, gently rest your hands and watch the rest of us, because it brings up a lot. Turn your hand over and tap the back of your hand, because it looks simple what we're doing, but it's really very strong. This is somatic healing and it's strong. So what else are you noticing, Raelan? And I'm feeling like I need to do sighs to kind of let out some tension. That's making me go,
yes.
So anyone at home, if you make a sigh on the out breath, like, it will help release some of the things that are coming up.
That felt good.
Yeah, it feels really good and really soothing in your chest, right? You get a vibration down the chest.
Can I do this in all my calls? Can you warn my
Doing great.
boss?
You're doing great. You also did this. Did you realize you did a kind
No,
of
I don't.
shimmy? So you did a wonderful shimmy, which is your system just wanting to release stuff. Your whole system is going into parasympathetic. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
You're doing amazing. Well done. And very gently rest your hands in your lap. And notice now if there's tingling in the hands or how the body's feeling, the thoughts your mind is having. It's all really welcome. But that is a very simple tool, as everyone can see how simple it looks, to start integrating body, mind, heart. That doesn't leave any of them out. Very often when I do it with people, they immediately become very emotional. So this kind of work can look simple, but it's connecting all the parts of you that want to come up to be released, actually, that have been heavy, that people are holding like, oh, I can't, and you feel a bit lighter afterwards. But at home, if anyone's feeling very overwhelmed, do a little bit of havening, do a little bit of self-stroking, a little bit of just because you're kind of settling your own nervous system, and you can use your own voice. If you can, you make a sigh on the out-breath. You're, because that won't have looked like a lot, but that was a lot. For some people may have thought, oh, I'm fine, I'll join in. And then they go, oh, now I'm feeling a lot of things and it's hard. So we can soothe a little. Very good.
So what is happening there? How does something as simple as tapping on your hand do all of this?
It's a beautiful somatic healing technique. That particular one was created by Peter Levine. So I can't speak for him. He's one of my teachers who I went to San Francisco to study under last year near you. And he has developed these amazing techniques over the last 30 to 40 years that help us integrate mind and body and heart. And it's very much part of emotional healing, but it's called somatic. And for anyone watching at home who doesn't know, somatic means pertaining to the body or about the body. So some people say, oh, it's somatic yoga or somatic walking. It just means body, right? So different people are using it for different things. So this type of somatic healing is quite strong. That kind of thing is developed by this practitioner, Peter Levine, and it is designed to help your brain and your body and your heart all come together. So that's why, for example, I was saying, look at your hand as well, and then say words. And then these things that have been finessed over more than 30 years. He will have tried and different things at the beginning, presumably, that didn't kind of work to integrate people.
Yeah, that felt like the powerful magic that was happening just in that little bit that I was doing it, is that even now, even I should know better, I still feel quite disconnected from my body and all those parts. And it was just taking that moment just to get into my body. You know when you've been tense for a couple hours and you don't even realize that you've been in this posture, you're like, wow, how was I so not self-aware to even catch the space that I'm in? But it's easy to get there where you're just not connected at all.
And also it's a survival mechanism. So actually it's not even that you're doing anything wrong or that anyone else is at home is doing anything wrong. It's that if you have a lot of pain and symptoms, it will naturally be that you will disconnect from that so that you can survive. And therefore you will be much more in your mind. And the mind is not a bad place to be. The mind can also help us with healing because the mind can be rewired. You can read, you can learn, you can understand, you can put things in place that are going to help you change all your patterns. So the mind is actually our friend as well, but will stay in the mind when it's too painful to be in the body. So it has to be very gradual.
That makes a lot of sense. So one of the things that comes up a lot that I see in the comments or the people that reach out to me is that they're learning all this stuff. Like, I think I get it. I'm doing a lot of these things. I've seen some things shift, but yet I still feel stuck and I can't figure out what is it that I'm not doing? Like how come other people it's working and I can't seem to get there? And it happens to so many people. It happened to me as well. I was stuck for years.
Yeah. So I think we have to acknowledge that human beings are complex and unique.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to remember as well because we also have a history of I have a pain here, I go to the doctor, I get the tablet for the pain here. And it's the same tablet for everybody who gets the pain here. So the system implied always, all our lives, that we're all the same and that we should fit in. You go to school, we all fit in. And the system has been always implying that we're the same. But the truth is that we're all incredibly unique. Every human being is as unique as a flower, and all roses are roses, but every single rose is unique. So there's this beautiful thing that we're actually quite complex and unique. So just because it's working for someone else doesn't actually mean the way I do it is identical to the way they do it, or my emotional patterns or my history is the same as theirs. So when I come to do that work, it might not be the perfect fit for what I need in that moment. And so it's sometimes, I think of it as almost like a healing map. And we're looking for which part of the healing map hasn't been covered yet by this person. They're unique and they've probably done a lot of healing work, but maybe there was this one thing and they thought, no, that I don't need that. Or that's not right for me. And actually it's perfect for that person. But how would they know? Like, how can we know when we're each so unique which exact things to do? It really is complex. And when you're covered in brain fog and symptoms and memory issues and cognitive issues, how can you then work it out? It's very difficult to do this without support. And a lot of people are really doing this alone. It's very, very tough. So people do get stuck. But also I think... I don't know what you think about this. I think there are key stages where people get stuck. I don't know if that's something you notice.
I definitely know there are key stages where I got stuck.
So I've noticed that people are getting stuck when they're very severe. And the first thing is what we hear or what we say. I was the same. What we say is, I can't do anything. So I can't read. How am I going to read a book or do a course? I can't read because of the symptoms are stopping me being able to read or process information. And the pain is so extreme and I can't look at screens and I'm in a dark room. And it was all just kind of like this pileup of I can't actually do any of the things that people say might lead me out of this. So that's very challenging. So that is, a lot of people are stuck when they're very severe. And another place that I think that people get stuck is when they're nearly better. So I don't know if you've seen this, but they're like ready to go back to work or work part-time. Mm-hmm. They've come out of an extraordinary story and they're very happy because life is getting good again. And they're actually very positive in their mindset and saying, it's inevitable now. I'm doing all this stuff and it's going great. But the symptoms keep lingering, or they can't quite get to complete health. And they're wondering why. And I think these two phases have very different reasons. I think when you're stuck and it's right at the beginning before you found MindBody healing and you feel like you can't do anything, the first help you need is with mindset and help to realize it's going to actually work and you can be supported on those beginning steps. Because how do you read if you can't read? You need help to work out the plan. Like how is this going to work? My brain isn't really functioning. So that needs support to take first steps. And if you're nearly better and you're doing great and the symptoms are lingering, I think it might be a missing piece of the puzzle. Yeah. Because then people just keep going with I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm rock climbing and I'm going to climb Mount Everest and I'll just keep running. But why are my symptoms lingering? And it's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's that there is maybe a missing piece. And quite often that can be what was buried, the emotional integration or the things that are hidden, the old patterns that are still running. They're just still there.
Yeah, that lines up a lot with what I hear a lot of people say in my own journey. I was thinking about, for me, over 10 years, the first about 2 years, I tried everything under the sun. I didn't do the bee sting thing, but I hadn't heard of it. Had I heard of it, I would have done it. So I had no understanding of this condition, but I was just doing everything everyone told me to do and trying anything I could possibly try. And in that process, I did get a little bit better. I had no idea what made me a little bit better. Now looking back, I was in an incredibly stressful job that I got to leave, and I was in a marriage that was no longer healthy that I also left. So not that people necessarily have to blow up their life, but I needed to make some big changes. So I think that right there, but then I'm like, I don't know what else to try. I've done everything.
Yeah.
So I stopped trying to fix myself for a while, moved someplace that made me happy, and then I felt better again. Didn't know why. I now see it as the stopping trying to fix myself and living a life that made me happy. But for years, I still lived in fear of this monster that was CFS that I was battling every single day. That was my mindset. So I think I got stuck there at that end point.
Yes. So you were better. So your life was already so much better and happier and possible. Like you had some life. Yeah.
And we hear some of these interviews and it sounds like just get your life in alignment with what you want to be living and you will be okay. And that's a piece. And I did that. But with that daily intense fear of the symptoms and of like
So
this scary monster.
Internal pattern was still running. But also some people might be listening to this and I want to say something to them because we look like we had it easy. Now, I know you didn't have it easy and I know I didn't have it easy. But I'm living near the beach and you're saying, well, so I moved to a place that made me really happy. And it sounds, and they're like, I can't walk, I can't go to the kitchen. What are you talking about? Right. So I just want to speak to anyone who's feeling that right now and know that I was like that. And the reason I live at the beach was because I was evicted because I couldn't pay my rent anymore. And the bailiffs came and they dragged me out and, and I couldn't walk and I couldn't. And so life forced things. And sometimes that happened like for your own sanity, you had to leave a terrible work situation and relationship situation not because it was good. And you went, oh yeah, great. It was so bad that you had to get out or I was removed.
And it's not always that easy. And my first couple years, most days I couldn't get the mail. Like it was a journey. And even later on, I managed to get into another relationship, even worse for me. But I felt and stayed stuck there a while because I was so symptomatic. I'm like, I can barely manage my self-care. How am I going to up and leave this relationship? So I don't think that you need to make all these dramatic changes in your life instantly. Just start with where you are. You've got power to change things in your moment and don't.
And I want to put a word to what you've described because it's so beautiful that you made that journey without knowing what it was even called. You were doing the right things and going, oh, well, that worked. And it's really tough. But what you did was you put boundaries. So you probably know that now. But people at home might not know how that connects and how they can use it. So for example, if you're in a situation but you can't move out of your house and you can't, you'll have to accept whatever the relationships are because people are bringing food or, whatever the situation is, you can still put boundaries and you can learn about how to have boundaries, which will help protect you and your inner world. So one way of putting a boundary is to leave a relationship. And then that boundary is, it's finished, I'm out. But if you're in relationships with people and you can also say things like, no, please don't visit me, or please don't text during the daytime, or please don't ask me to do things that I can't do. And it's just a verbal thing, very difficult to do. I realize it's very difficult for everyone to say their needs or to speak what is needed by their current condition. But when you start putting boundaries, you start getting better. It will have a direct impact on lessening symptoms. It doesn't sound like it would, but it does. And if you can't move house to your ideal location and go live at the beach, can you go to a park every other day? If you can't walk, can you get a taxi? Can someone help you get to the garden? Is there a way you can look at the sky out of the window if you can't get out? Can you find ways to start connecting to things that are outside of hunting for the answer for this condition, just sometimes in your day?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that second relationship that I didn't feel I had the ability to leave. And it did turn into be an exercise in boundaries and saying things like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I need absolute silence for the first 30 minutes that I'm up. I don't want to speak and I don't want to hear you speak. And it's not about you. It's just, this is what I need. And because I felt stuck. So you were forced into like, okay, how do I make this work? How do I set boundaries? And that's something that took me years to learn, still learning.
Yes. And we're all still learning because It makes us grow. That's the difficult thing. When we're suffering and we're struggling with terrible symptoms, it doesn't feel like we're growing. It doesn't feel like anything good at all could be happening. But actually, the universe is kind of asking you to listen to your needs and to protect yourself in a way. So it can start with boundaries, and that can give you the space for further healing.
So I know you've said that when you went through your journey, it brought you to a place, not back to where you started, not that baseline, someplace even far greater than that. So how does that happen? Like, tell us about that. You're not the first person to say that, but it's so incredible hearing how people got to that place.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I hoped, like most people hope, to get my normal life back. I was just intending to go back to the normal, stressful, go, 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 don't feel anything, be numb, workaholic life that I had before. But I didn't realize that when you are taking part in this kind of healing process, things drop away and change. So some of the things were physical and some of them were emotional. So the physical things that happened that made my life much better now were things like I'd always had back pain my whole life since I was 16, and I'd always had digestive problems since I was a child. So I thought I would have those for life. So I thought when I heal this chronic condition, I will still have those. Mm-hmm. But they got healed too. And I thought, well, I've had some cancer, so that'll probably finish me off shortly after this chronic condition. But this heals that too. So it was very incredible to go, oh, so now I'm physically better than I was before, even though I'm older. Therefore, we wouldn't expect it to be physically improving as you're really getting a lot older. So I'm 53, people. So you don't expect your health to go up at that age. You're due to go downhill. And the other part of it is the emotional side. So as you start to pay attention to yourself in different ways and learn techniques to help your own system, joy comes. Now, sometimes it's just spontaneous, and sometimes it's because you've changed something in your life, like if you go and live in a new place. But the more things that happen, the more joy that comes. So for me, I feel happier. I feel emotionally more free. I feel more joy in my life. I feel that I understand why I had problems with my digestion as a kid and why I had back pain from the age of 16. So I feel quite whole and grounded and good in ways that I don't think I ever felt before I was chronically ill.
Yeah, try to imagine where you and I would be sitting right now had we not gone through what we went through. I can't even begin to imagine. I'm sure we would have grown and worked on some things, but there's no way I would be sitting where I am having gone through. And I think I say this stuff too much because I know when you're thick of it, you don't want to hear how you should be grateful. And this is going to, it's not about that. It's hell. It's a nightmare I wouldn't wish on anyone. The great thing is that, with all that hard work, you come out the other side. And I'd say 99% of the people I interview say some version of like, wow, I am so much happier, healthier now than I ever was.
One person that I worked with said this, and it's very nice. It's very pertinent, I think. It's like coming out of the Matrix, because you actually kind of go, wow, everything's kind of different to what I thought. But that also means I can heal myself. I can do things. So almost like I have powers and I can see the truth and I can kind of do what I like. And wow, this is a lot better than I thought it would be to recover.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to hear that when you're in the thick of it. But there are things you can do, and there are free resources, and there are amazing brain rewiring courses that Raelan has. And there are so many good things that can support you. And it doesn't have to take years and years and years to get there. It really doesn't.
Oh, what I would have given to have a you in my life when I was going through this. And so this obviously, you said it shifted the way you live your life, what you want to do. You didn't want to go back to that rat race. So now you do work supporting people. So what do you have available? What resources for people watching or listening? They're like, yes, this all resonates. Where can I learn more?
Yes, so I have lovely resources on my website at Amari Love. So that's the perfect place to start. And there's videos and articles explaining and all kinds of things for people to do. Of course, I work one-to-one guiding people who want that support. I have a fun Instagram channel where I kind of share daily tips of things you can do right now that can be quite helpful. So most people that I'm working with, they're on Instagram getting the daily input as well. And yes, on YouTube, of course, as well. So if anybody would like to look, I would love to hear any comments on what people's feedback is.
I love the daily tips on Instagram. I mean, I love all of it, but I think this can be so overwhelming, and you can sign up for big courses or programs or buy all these books, and you're like, oh, I still have to listen to that audio book. And really, just when you're going through this, you're like, just give me a little trickle, just something for today. What's one little nugget that I can start to think about and maybe use to get through today? And then tomorrow we'll add on one more little nugget. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And if people can see it like that, I think a lot of people feel like it has to be a big thing. Like, I'm looking for the one big answer. Give me the one answer. Tell me the one thing. But actually, it's micro moments. So we need micro moments in the day. So you need to do a tiny thing in the first hour that you get up that's helping support you. And in the next hour, if you can do a tiny thing, so it can be a 1-minute thing, or it could be one breath and a sigh. But it needs to be you continually starting to give attention to yourself in new ways and not going, got to fix this, got to fix this. What's the one big answer?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a shift in how we approach the whole journey.
And I think it's a shift in how most of us approach life in general, because many of us or just the society makes most of us think we should be this way, like go all in, everything needs to be perfect. And whether it's our career, our health, our finances, and you just think like, what's one small thing you can do today that will put you one tiny bit maybe ahead of where you were yesterday? Like whether it's, you're like, oh, like my diet's a mess. I know I should be eating better. Okay, like just one little tiny thing. And every person I interview, it is those series of small changes made consistently over time that deliver them out. And it's almost like that push crash cycle we have with our energy. We can do it with everything else. Like, oh, I'm going to have the perfect diet. And then it's not. So then you just give up and throw your hands in the air, or whatever that thing is for you. And no one gets it perfect every day. No one gets anything perfect. So
the wonderful thing that it's very difficult to do this, but it's even good just to hear it. I think everybody with this condition, or let's say 90% of people with this condition, are perfectionists. It's part of our personality that we have this condition. We have perfectionism. And so this can be helpful. You perfectionists at home, you're probably making 100% effort on your recovery. Or you're quitting, you're just going, oh, I'm not doing it. I'm just not even, I'm like, no, I'm just going to go and party and I'm not, right? Or I'm doing 100% effort and I'll just do everything. So you're doing it all or nothing. And which is like the push, crash. Mm-hmm. And you're also giving 100% when you're trying to work out what to do and do all your healing work. And I just want to suggest, when you're doing any healing work, only do 70% of your best. So at school, they taught you to do your best and they taught you to make 100% effort. And so I want you to try to start giving a new message to yourself. No, back it up. Do 70% of your best, because it would take off a lot of pressure.
This is amazing. I want to get that embroidered on a pillow. Every time I hear like one of these like mic drop statements, I'm like, I need this somewhere in my world, that I see it every day.
Yeah.
It's just my whole nervous system just calmed down when I heard that. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, because you're trying so hard. And the thing is, and it can feel so urgent. And sometimes I, even since I recovered, I think, oh my God, but if I don't write back to my clients, the ones that I'm working with, and they need my support, and I've got to write back, and I feel the urgency of, I must immediately, and then I have to go, 70% of my best is enough, because that urgency that is sending waves to my nervous system and brain is saying panic and fear and stress and pressure. And that creates symptoms. So we actually want to slightly back it up a little bit, if at all possible.
Yeah. And this way you can end your days thinking, yeah, I did enough, instead of going through your entire life every day thinking, wow, I did not achieve that perfection I was aiming for today. Chalk it up to another fail. Hopefully tomorrow will be that perfect day.
What happens is a miracle though, Raelan, because if you, for example, start doing 70% of your best instead of 100%, your work might even get better.
I know. Oh, I
It doesn't
know.
make sense.
I know.
It doesn't
But
make sense.
But there's
Logically.
something about the stress and the going at it with that forceful energy and unrealistic expectations that when you just dial it back, I think you can have more realistic, consistent output. And
I feel it in my body. I don't know if you feel this, and I don't know if people at home feel this. When I feel myself having that 100%, I'll get all the emails done. Then I've got 2 meditations that I'm meditating. Then I've got this. Then I need a new website page. I've got 4 blog posts to write. I've got to do the Instagram. I'm like, and then I'm like, oh, wow, this is the one who created the problem. But oh, hello, her. And then I feel it in my chest, like tension and a bit of push. And it'll start, if I keep going and if I don't stop myself, it'll turn into a pain or a little mini symptom, the beginning of a symptom.
Yep.
And I go, it's right there. It just wants to get into that same old pattern.
Absolutely brilliant. So great having you here as always. All of your things, of course, will be linked in the video description. So people watching, listening, do yourself a favor. Just take a minute to click through some of those. At a minimum, check out her website or start following her on Instagram. I will do everything I can to have more of you in my life. I just think you are a gift to all of us. So thank you for being here. And thanks for doing the incredible work that you do. I have no doubt you're helping countless people on their journeys.
Thank you so much for your channel. Oh. So many, I don't know how many tens of thousands of people are finding the recovery that they need because of your channel. It's a miracle. You're a miracle, Raelan.
We all are. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the amazing people that I interview. And I'm going to link here to the last time you were on your channel. You're here because you had so many great things that you shared, including how to use a teddy bear on your recovery journey. So if you want to check that out,
you know what people send me? You know, what? I love it. People, don't stop. Send me more if you want to. They send me photos of themselves with a teddy.
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine how cute that is? It's like, what do I receive from people? They're like, hey, here's me and my teddy. It's adorable.
I should have sent you a picture. After that interview, I took one of my dog's teddy bears one day on the couch and I just sat with it while I was working. It was beautiful. It was magic. So, but yeah, thank you so much. Wonderful having you here. Thank you to everyone watching and hope to see you in this next video where we learn about teddy bear therapy. Bye, everyone.